Wowza! The Bucks stunned the NBA world by signing Myles Turner and waiving Damian Lillard. Will it be enough to hold on to Giannis? What does this mean for the Pacers? Matt and Haize are here, and well, they're just as confused as you are. Let's process together on Locked On NBA.
What the?
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your Shot Clock Sherpa, doing my best to guide you through the NBA's biggest stories every day with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me as always. From the Locked On Nuggets podcast, he's a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Haize. No time for pleasantries today, gents, because we have breaking news. And one of the wildest turns of this free agency period, the Milwaukee Bucks just made two massive franchise shifting decisions. Let's send it to Locked On Bucks for the details.
What just happened? The Milwaukee Bucks acquired Myles Turner. And initially you're like, has to be like for a sign and trade, right? The money's not money. The math ain't mathin'. But then you find out to accommodate this move, the Bucks waived Damian Lillard and they are stretching out his contract. If my math is correct, the Bucks will be paying Damian Lillard like $22.5 million for the next 5 years in dead cap space to help accommodate this move. My mind still can't comprehend that we have waived Dame and on top of that have acquired Myles Turner. Because there was questions with Brook Lopez leaving to the Clippers, what was the Bucks' big rotation going to be? Myles Turner fits what the Bucks like to have, a rim protector that can stretch the floor. But man, at this cost, I still can't even put it together myself. But I'll say this, John Horst, this man continues to make moves to try to keep the Bucks in contention, to try to keep Giannis happy. And here we are. Myles Turner is a Buck. Damian Lillard, not anymore. Wow.
Myles Turner is a Buck. He cost them a buck, 4 years, $107 million, the deal. And then you heard the math there from Camille on the stretch provision for Damian Lillard. It's the largest wave and stretch in the history of the NBA, and it means Lillard will represent somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15% of the Bucks cap space for the next few years. Damian Lillard tore his left Achilles in Game 4 of the Bucks' first-round series against the Pacers and had surgery in May. Matt, your reaction to all of this?
On Bobby Bonilla Day?
Perfect.
Look, this is stunning. But like most things, once you get through that first layer, you start to be like, oh. Mark Spears said this on Twitter, and it's like, take this very seriously because Mark knows the players better, I think, than any reporter in the league. He's been doing this forever. Like he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. And Mark said, don't feel too bad for Damian Lillard. He had a player option for next season. He was considering exercising. Now he gets to be, it's been no secret. It's been hard on his family being this far away from them when they're still in Portland for him to be in Milwaukee. This was never a great fit. Dame gets to rehab for a year wherever he wants, closer to his family, and then next year join with any team that might be interested in that happens to play on South Beach and is called the Miami Heat. So any team, name the Miami Heat, can go ahead and sign him. Adding Turner, phenomenal. They got him for less than he wanted. Everything I'd heard was like, yeah, the Pacers want to give him 30. He wants 35. They'll figure out somewhere in there. And instead, apparently, according to reports, they held firm at $30 million for 3 years. I don't know why they shortchanged Myles here when he was so good for them in the second round. I understand the conference finals and finals were not great. Styles make fights. Those were matchup problems. This is a great addition. Reportedly, Giannis had conversations with Turner throughout this process, whether he knew about Dame being waived or not. it's a bold move by Milwaukee. Yeah, the $22 million in dead cap space is a problem, but Milwaukee continues to prove we understand how great Giannis Antetokounmpo is, and we're willing to do whatever it takes to put a winner around him.
You gotta commend the Milwaukee Bucks for being aggressive. I literally was just putting together an episode on my show together about how the Milwaukee Bucks are kind of standing still while other teams around the East are making moves to improve, like the Atlanta Hawks. And this completely shut me up. Like, this is something unexpected. This is the creative things that you have to do when you're trying to keep your superstar. And so waiving Dame, allowing him to go to match point, go and rehab wherever he wants to, bringing in a player like Myles Turner to replace Brook Lopez. You'll now have a frontline rotation of Bobby Portis and Myles Turner here. I like that, what they've done, getting Gary Trent Jr. back, re-signing Kevin Porter Jr. Like, they've slowly but surely starting to build a really solid offseason. They still need to find a point guard now, but I like what they've been doing here. And I think the Milwaukee Bucks are showing that how aggressive that they're about to be to keep Giannis there.
And do you think it'll be enough, Haize? The reports were Giannis was monitoring all of this, conflicting reports about his satisfaction with the Damian Lillard waiving. But do you think this is going to be enough after they find a point guard to keep him in Milwaukee?
For now, yeah. I think that this thing now with Giannis is going to be a year-by-year basis. They can do enough to keep him now to where he's intrigued, but if the team disappoints, if they have an early exit from the playoffs, it could change like this. So I think they're doing enough now to calm this down. Giannis is going to be very interested in playing with this team and seeing what they continue to do. And that's all they can do right now is keep buying themselves time, keep trying to improve and improving to Giannis that they're going to be aggressive. But I don't think this is something we can look at and say it has completely stopped all of it. It just has staved it off for right now.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, right? Is Turner enough? Like, does he get to the end of the summer and look at this team and go like, yeah, that's enough? Or does he go, sorry? Because if so, you have no picks. You have $22 million in dead cap. It's tough, man. Like this is the problem, is that the new CBA kind of creates the situation where you either have to get very lucky or you have to accept huge risks. And in accepting those risks, it's things like, hey, you may have no draft future or not. You still have every other year, have limited draft future and $22 million in dead cap. That's the risk. Do you want to keep Giannis? You're going to have to accept the possibility of being without Giannis, the money, and the picks. And like, that's the risk that you're in. But I'll applaud the Bucks for not being cowards, for not being like, well, we got to hedge our bets here. We got to be careful. You can't do that. The window is now. The time is now. Go get it. Figure out tomorrow, because the CBA kind of demands that you make these types of decisions. So I applaud the Bucks for being willing to make these types of moves.
I mean, the only other gamble that they could make would be that they find another Giannis Antetokounmpo in the middle of the lottery. I mean, that was that was a huge find, and they are going to see it out to the very end. So one more question on the Bucks side of this, and then we will go to the Pacers side. Matt, where does Damian Lillard go from here? You mentioned this is can be viewed as good for him. He gets to rehab where he wants. Where do you think he will be wanted?
I mean, look, he's got the Achilles, so he's got time. It's not like Dame's hurting for cash here, right? So he can take, if a team wants to sign him to rehab, sign him to a 1-and-1 and pick him up, they can do that, right? And kind of see where he's at in a year and provide him with the facilities and goodwill and all these types of things in order to give him the option to sign with them. That'd be a very smart move to do, like a goodwill. Hey, we're planning on Dame the year after this one. I think at this age and at this point in his career, I would pass on that opportunity. As good as I think Dame is and how amazing his career has been, like, there's been some slides. Like the fit in Milwaukee was not great. The last couple of years were like, they were good. He had some really good stretches, but it wasn't Damian Lillard, and those days might be over. So I think you gotta be careful there. If he does just take the year off and just rehabs, I just think, look, I will, until he signs with another team, I will believe that he's going to wind up on the Miami Heat. I think there are personal, professional, lifestyle reasons for him to wind up with the Heat. That is what I will believe.
Yeah, I mean, Dame is going to have his fair share of suitors, and it seems like it's perfectly matched for him to go to the Miami Heat. Pat Riley is thirsty. Dame's going to be thirsty to get back out there on the court and prove he's still Dame. So that seems like a match made in heaven, unless the Miami Heat do something crazy between now and then. So, we'll see what happens with Dame. I think Dame's going to make a recovery and definitely try to come back and be productive. It's a little bit tough, like with the Achilles tears. Like we've seen it where it's like 18 months you get back on the court, and then even then you're not yourself for another little while. So back into their career like Dame, it could get a little rough, but why not try to make a comeback in Miami rather than anywhere else? At least you have good weather.
All right, let us know what you think about this shocking double deal here on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Coming up, reports that the Indiana Pacers shortchanged the Myles Turner situation, and that's why Myles Turner is in Milwaukee. I'll ask Matt and Haize about that and where the Pacers go from here. Just off of an NBA Finals, Tyrese Haliburton possibly going to miss the entirety of next season. What's next for them as they deal with this news? That's coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports, they're in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like a must-watch event. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching that bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you are part of the action. New to FanDuel, I've got good news. New customers can bet just $5, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Haize, the loss of Myles Turner, what do you think it means for the Pacers as they navigate next season without their star, Tyrese Haliburton?
I think that this means that they are prepared. We talked about the Boston Celtics taking a gap year. The Pacers are fully prepared to take a gap year next year, letting the young guys develop, of course, without Tyrese Haliburton, see who steps up. I still think this is a team that could definitely still make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference for sure, but I think that they're just going to let the natural outcome of the season happen, whether that means that they are competing for a playoff spot, whether it means that they're right outside and found themselves in the position to get a lottery pick. I think that they're going to focus on development, playing well, still having Rick Carlisle there, but this is definitely now, more than it was before, a gap year for the Indiana Pacers.
Matt, does it signal a further teardown, possibly a move of Pascal Siakam to another team?
I don't think so. I think that they're going to, look, I think that they valued Turner. They turned down trading him like 17 times. I think they saw limitations in the conference finals and finals that impacted how much they were willing to put forward. I think that they kind of see a slow decline of Turner's impact, which I love Myles and think he's going to be great and want him to have a great, I love Myles Turner. I love his personality. I love his game. He's great. But I think it was reasonable for them to be a little skeptical about making him this huge part of their team and kind of drew a line. I'm curious about what happens with Benedict Mathurin. I'm curious about what happens with some of the other guys that they're going to have to re-sign. I'm curious what they do at center here because they have a lot of questions now at that position. But this is one of the problems with doing this step-by-step in free agency. We got to get through the whole offseason to see where they land. We'll find out kind of what they look like at the end. They're out of championship contention. You can't do that without Hallie. But they can be a playoff team in the East because the three of us with two NBA players could be a playoff team in the East. And I think we need to wait and see what they're doing. The Pacers have the Pacers have kind of surprised us the last couple of years with every time that we're kind of well, they're not really going anywhere. Oh, they went somewhere. Oh, they're not really going to do anything. Oh, they did something. They've been really interesting in how they've kind of put this team together. So I want to wait and see what happens before definitively saying which direction that they're headed.
I can't wait and see what Tony East is going to have to say about all of this. So monitor the Locked On Pacers feed for his what I'm sure will be an emergency pod, if it's not already out, coming out very soon. Haize, I want to get your opinion on what Matt just said there. He said he witnessed a little bit of decline from Myles Turner in that conference finals and in the finals. Did you see the same thing? And do you think it's going to be enough to justify to the Pacers fan base, who, again, they were rabid. They were just off that finals, to justify to them not making this move to retain Myles Turner?
Man, he did have a rough finals. So maybe it is. I think that Pacers fan base, a fan base that has gone through the years of the team not being good, has gone through the development and seen it, has gone through even Myles Turner coming here and him turning into the player that he turned into. Coming off of finals, it's going to be very rough to sell them on this teardown, in my opinion, even with the Haliburton injury. Fans, we're not reasonable people. And so I don't expect the Indiana Pacers fan base, after seeing what this team was capable of fully healthy, to not understand why the team wouldn't just say, okay, yeah, Halliburton's going to miss next year, but what about 2026, 27? So I think they're going to be upset by it. I don't think they're going to take this as just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So the Pacers are going to have to get to work. They're going to have to really show a vision and a path going forward by the time Halliburton's back, because if not, those Pacers fans are going to be quite upset.
Okay, let's spend the remaining time that we have here today talking about some of the other big moves and non-moves that happened on day one, some of the moves that are happening as we speak. Gentlemen, we have to stay on our toes here because things are still happening as we tape the show. In fact, the team that you cover, Matt, just made a move, the Denver Nuggets. They are trading Dario Saric to the Sacramento Kings in exchange for Jonas Valanciunas. Your instant reaction to that move for the Denver Nuggets?
Any center that can walk and chew gum at the same time that is not 37 years old is a win. So JV is probably going to be a negative in terms of the plus minus, but just having another big who can function is a big deal. They had to play DeAndre Jordan last year, and DJ gave them really good minutes. And DJ was awesome in the locker room, and I don't think he's coming back, and that sucks because I loved covering DJ. It was a really good guy to be around. But this is another really positive move. When you look at they move MPJ for Cam Johnson. They use that player exception in this trade to acquire Jonas Valanciunas to solve their backup center position with a veteran. They add Bruce Brown on a minimum. That's three significant moves that reshape the rotation. The Nuggets have a real rotation now, which was what Nikola Jokic said he wanted. And they've managed to save money, which good for the Cronkies, I guess. We'll see kind of what happens. Right now, they're still scheduled to be in the repeater, so we'll see what other moves are coming. But this has been a phenomenal 24 hours for the Nuggets front office in their first term here as the head of basketball operations.
Matt, I was listening to one of the latest episodes of the Locked On Nuggets podcast, and you said that the trade of MPJ, the addition of Cam Johnson and Bruce Brown sort of more aligns the team back to what they were when they won the title. Do you see this Valanciunas move as the same thing?
I think they are remarkably closer to being a title team than they were last year. And many people will be like, they took OKC to 7. And like, yeah, I'm always going to kind of be like, no, some weird stuff went on in that series. I think that this team is legitimately back to being that level. Cam's such a great fit for them if he can stay healthy, and that's a big question here. He was actually less available than MPJ was. His long-term health is a lot better, but his short-term health is a little bit more in question. But Cam's such a smart player, and he's so versatile. It helps unlock all these rotations. You can now run like, hey, JV and Gordon with Cam Johnson in a 3-starter staggered lineup with two of the kiddos on the team. You've got all this versatility. You can play a lot of different lineups. They won't bleed as much as they have in various lineups. And that's huge for them because their starters were still dynamite. This on top of the Christian Brown extension, it's all pretty much good news for the Denver Nuggets.
Haize, do you agree with that? Have the Denver Nuggets done enough to retool, to keep pace in a Western Conference? I mean, team after team in the West seems to be loading up, willing to compete with the rest of that strong conference. Did Denver do enough?
Yeah, I think they've done really good. You still got your core there for the most part. You added Cam Johnson. You've added bench depth, which this team has needed a lot basically since their championship run. I think they've done enough to stay competitive. I still won't pick them to win the West or anything like that, but I do think they've done a really good job at staying competitive in the Western Conference.
All right, one team that has not made any significant moves yet to address their center position, the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll hear from Locked On Lakers on the other side. Are they thinking too much about 2027 and leaving Luka Doncic in 2026 behind? More on that ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Make sure it's your first watch. If you're on YouTube already, head over to Locked On NBA's YouTube channel. It's a 2-for-1. You get this show every day. You get Locked On NBA Game Night every day. Hit subscribe and turn your notifications on so that you know when we go live. The Lakers signed Jake LaRavia, but let Dorian Finney-Smith walk. DFS was reportedly one of Luka's closest teammates in his short time in LA. Hollywood, it's all about reboots, and Locked On Lakers says this franchise, like a reboot, is starting to give them very familiar feelings.
We have seen this movie before. We have seen the Lakers do this. And the notion to me that you would, I'm not saying go out and do dumb things, but that you would take good options off the table for you to try to make a splash in 2 off seasons while you're trying to make sure that Luka stays here. And more importantly, don't want to use up 2 years of the guy's prime. Again, don't do stupid things. Don't try to chase Houston, who had a phenomenal day, but you can still do stuff. And to say, it gets back to what I've always said, Andy, if you think the only thing you can do to get guys in is maintain cap space, it shows you have zero confidence in your ability to do it any other way. No, this says to me, the Lakers have no confidence in their ability to sign a player that will actually be good enough that you can trade them in 2 years.
What do you think, Matt? Is Brian Kamenetsky making a lot of sense there? Are the Lakers too focused on the future, particularly that 2027 offseason, sacrificing 2 years of Luka Doncic's prime?
Yeah, what the hell is this? What is this? You got handed your get out of jail free card. You got handed it. Like, Nico Harrison walked into a coffee shop and gave you Luka Doncic. Why on earth would you be like, well, you know, not going to do anything now or next year, but 2027, watch out. What are you doing? You can win a championship right now. He took a team with PJ Washington as his third best player to the finals. I like PJ, but come on, man. Like, this is Luka Doncic. What are you doing? How you are risking losing him and do that? I do not understand any of this, Haize. 2026, okay, sure. You want to get the best free agency. What's supposed to be a pretty good free agency class? Sure, no problem. Okay, cool. I think it's a waste of a year. You should still get the guy as center and a wing, but you can do both. The idea you can't do both, Haize, is insane. You're the Lakers. Everyone wants to play for you. What is happening?
I have no idea. When I read this earlier, as far as the 2027 plan makes no sense to me. You're supposed to be going all in. I didn't even think that this was a possibility that you'd be kicking the can down the road when you have Luka now, and you have to also extend Luka. Like I did not think that would even be something they would even contemplate doing. You need to be going all in now. You need to be being aggressive now. That's what you need to be doing right now. Now, if you wanted to acquire contracts that didn't go past too long or whatever, like whatever, but you need to be aggressive to try to build something around Luka now. There is no excuse to do anything else here. You got gifted somebody who is in their prime and was an MVP candidate for years. Every year he's going to be an MVP candidate. Why would you not? Why would you wait to try to build around that player and put a championship contender around that player that you got handed for 3 months? I was on the show saying nobody's bailing the Lakers out. You got bailed out, and you're now looking that gift horse in the face and saying, you know what? Just stay there for a second. I need you to wait a little bit. What are we doing?
They got bailed out, and then we're like, you know, this boat doesn't have enough water in it. Get some more water back in here. Sorry, put the water back in the boat. What are you doing? Why are you shooting holes in the side of the boat? Doug, breaking news. The Milwaukee Bucks are trading Pat Connaughton and 2 of their own second-round picks to the Charlotte Hornets for Micic. The Hornets get Pat Connaughton and 2 second-rounders. They are like, hey, we're going to show you what all of these like professional guys look like. And maybe some of you will start to play like that. 2 second-rounders for Micic. That alone is a pretty good deal, Doug. That's a pretty good deal for Charlotte.
Oh, well, it's a great deal when you consider that Vasa Micic was like, he had 1 foot in Istanbul, Turkey. It seemed like there was talks of him moving overseas after it didn't work out in Charlotte, didn't work out in Phoenix. Then he gets traded from Phoenix to back to Charlotte. And now, yes, Matt.
More breaking news, Doug. Free agent Dennis Schroeder has agreed to a 3-year, $45 million deal with the Sacramento Kings.
That's a good deal for him.
So Kings get their guy. Because of the Valanciunas trade, they didn't have to move Monk to make room for this trade. We'll see if they keep Monk, because the Warriors were among other teams that were really interested in acquiring him. But the Kings get their guy, Dennis Schroeder, which I'm still kind of like, yeah, I don't know about that, guys. Dennis is good, but like, come on, guys. You can't be your
More
guy.
breaking news. Free agent center Jericho Sims has agreed to a 2-year deal with the Milwaukee Bucks, including a player option on the second season.
The Bucks are not playing, man.
This is Sham Charania saying Milwaukee retains a lob threat big man in Sims, who played in a career-high 53 games last season and all 5 playoff games.
They love him. Like, they were really excited when they got the trade done, and they really like him. They think Sims is going to be a dude. So, you know, regardless of, and now they don't have to put him into the starting spot. Now you got Turner, and then Sims is your backup, which is, I think, really good for a long-term development plan.
Speaking of center news, Gershon Yabusele has agreed to a 2-year, $12 million contract with the New York Knicks, plus a player option. He was one of the few bright spots on an otherwise ugly year for the Philadelphia 76ers. Haize, do you like the move from the still head coachless New York Knicks? And let me just say, answer quickly before we get more breaking news.
Yes, I like this pick. I think he brings a lot of the defense that you need and toughness that you're going to need, especially with Karl Anthony Towns being your center. I think he did a really good job coming back to the NBA last year playing for the 76ers. So I really do like this move for the Knicks.
Matt?
I think it's fine. I don't really know. Like, Yabu is good for them. I don't really know what he brings to the table, and especially like when you don't have a coach, I don't know like how this is going to go. Yalu was good last year for the Sixers, though, so like it's a good pickup, and it gives you a little bit of insurance with Mitchell Robinson's injury history. So you got like this kind of small ball option. They had such bad backup center minutes. Precious Achiuwa, I think, is going to be gone. So this is basically like you lose Precious, probably. Maybe they re-sign him, but they probably lose Precious. They bring in Yabu, and that's probably an upgrade. So I think it's a solid B for the Knicks here.
Okay, I haven't seen Sham's tweet in 30 seconds, so let's all take a deep breath. And I want to, there we go. I want to return back to the Luka thing. But so I've seen pictures on social of Luka in the gym. And so now I'm wondering, is he going to start flexing his muscle sooner rather than later? Because you contrast what's going on in LA with what just happened in Milwaukee, where Milwaukee was facing down, losing Giannis, and they said, we will do whatever it takes, even things that people cannot fathom, like waiving and stretching Damian Lillard. How long before you see Luka? I mean, there's going to be pressure just by virtue of him having the decision to re-sign or not. But how long before we see some of that come to fruition, Matt?
So here's the trick, though. Luka wants guys he likes. Like, they had Kristaps Porzingis. Think about that now. Think about how good Kristaps Porzingis was considered in Boston before he caught whatever mystery outbreak illness he did this season, which we still don't know what the deal with that was. But he was considered the piece to put the Celtics over the top. And he was there in Dallas, but they didn't get along, and it didn't work, and Luka didn't like him. So this is kind of the trick, is like, you got to find guys that fit your roster, that maximize who Luka is, that he wants to play with and likes. And that's where this gets a little bit complicated. I don't think Luka's as much of like a happy-go-lucky, whoever. I don't think that's how he is. I think he's more persnickety. And so like that to me is a real challenge here, especially, you just lost DFS, which was like the guy. That to me is like a huge loss for them. So I don't know how this goes, but I don't necessarily think that Luka is going to be like, look, I'm unhappy, do this. But it's more of like the slow grumpiness on the perimeter. I know what that's like in Denver. And being able to read that, I think, is the bigger part of what the Lakers have to accomplish.
There's so much to get to. I wanted to get to Houston's big day. I feel like they were one of the big winners of day one. I was going to ask Matt and Haize about that. I will tomorrow for sure. I want to hear more about D'Lo going to Dallas. You've got Dallas and Houston both loading up. Which one of those will be the better contender? There's so much to talk about. I want to give it time to breathe, so we'll do that tomorrow. Tune in for that. I'll end here. Are we done being shocked by Milwaukee? I mean, their moves are happening right now. Does this still somehow all end up with Giannis not a member of the Milwaukee Bucks? They get Myles Turner, they get whatever return they can for Giannis, and they build something else there in Milwaukee. Are we too soon on this is all going to keep Giannis train?
I think with hearing that Giannis was involved in recruiting Myles Turner, that I think that it is that Giannis is on board for what they're doing here, and I think that they are loading this up to give them the best chance. I don't know if it's going to work. I want to be clear. They got some really good pieces. I don't know if it's going to work, but I do think that this is with the goal of we're doing it to keep Giannis. Not that we're necessarily preparing in case Giannis leaves, if that makes sense.
We're in an era of no assurances.
Yeah.
That's gone. It's all gone. And you can argue it's been gone. Blake Griffin, Clippers, like on and on and on. Like, think about how much the Bucks gave up to get Damian Lillard, and they just waived him. Right now, context matters here. But like the new CBA kind of requires this. And from a player perspective, watching the way that these other guys are treated and how much power you still have as a superstar and the talent that you're able to get, good for them for exerting it. Like, this is a fascinating situation where everyone has so much power and no one can trust anyone. I don't know that that's good for teams, but it's great for the drama.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of Locked On NBA. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every day. If you like what you heard today and want to hear more tomorrow, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Be kind to each other. We will see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.